Hello and good morning. This one, some people are going to see as controversial. That is not my intent. I am not trying to be controversial. I'm just trying to um, put a little bit better understanding on how to win at tennis. So, having said that, just listen to what I'm going to say. And then I would love to hear your comments. So, today I'm going to talk about consistency and grinding, the counter punching baseliner, oops, the retriever, the person who just runs around and hits one more shot back. Is that the best way to win? Or is that the worst way to win? Now, keep in mind, I said win, right? So, win. You can win that way, right? So, yes, it's true. You can win that way. So, but is it the best way to win or is it the worst way to win? Now, before I get started, I have a little bit of housekeeping to do. Um, Spend your social digital currency, right? And all it takes is this finger, and you just go like, share, subscribe, and push this out to people. If you like it, help it, right? I mean, it only takes a moment for you to do that. Um, a couple other news and notes. I'm going to be getting on a call with Jack Brody this morning at 8 o'clock. That's in about an hour from now. And that's going to be interesting. And he and I are going to be producing some more stuff. And then also, this video is sponsored by Swing Vision, maybe the most important app that will change the way tennis is taught. I am now using Swing Vision in my lessons, and it adds tremendous value. So check it out. Go, if you're on YouTube, go in the links below and you can see my affiliate link there to get to Swing Vision. It's amazing, amazing, amazing app. All right. So the counter punching baseliner, the grinder. So who are these people? What do they do? Right? Well, they they're fairly non-aggressive with their serve. They're looking to get a really high percentage of first serves in. So they don't go for a lot. Um, the higher level players are going to be kicking that first serve in for extra high first serve percentage. Sure, they might move it around in the box, but they're not attempting an extra amount of flat serves or even slice serves for that matter. They're pretty much top spinning the ball in, and then from then on, their plan is just to run and get every ball. They might be smart enough to try to get every ball deep cross court. That might be a part of their plan. But at the very basic notion of how they're going to play, it's 100% reactive. So they're going to try to, take the opponent's ball and do something with it that makes it more difficult for the opponent. But the opponent is the one who's taking all the initiative. So um, now there's a very high percentage of high school and college players that play this way. And I think it's celebrated. So you know, calling when the coach has his favorite player, and it's that grinder, who's always the last one on the match. And then here's the sad thing about grinders, though, is in college they won't often get to complete their match, but if they do, they're usually the last match on. They're the ones that win that match for the 4-3 win. But uh, so um, or 5-4 or whatever it is. So, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. Um, there are four other styles that can easily beat that player, and so the power player who can overpower the counterpunching baseliner has a clear edge because they're on offense and they're looking for offense, and the counterpunching baseliner is not. And all they can hope for is that the power player is going to throw in more errors and somehow lose to them, have a bad day at the office. So the counterpunching baseliner that's up against the player who pressures time and space is going to find themselves uncomfortable and forced to hit shots that they don't want to hit. A passing shot now, a a lob now, a being under pressure to move, and feeling their time taken away. So they're probably going to have to respond by going further back in the court to give themselves more time, which then makes themselves vulnerable to the drop shot and to shorter angle balls in the court. So and then the player who's really pressuring movement and is using their movement against the player who's just simply running around is going to end up having to run much more. So to me, the first entree into, or the first exit from counterpunching baseliner is to become a pressure movement player. That's the most likely logical next step. But I think there are some people who have the skills to play a different style that just play the grinding style just because that's all they've ever been taught. So this is number 2 in the series. Yesterday I was talking about the power player. So today I've gone to the complete other end of the scale, and I'm talking about the counterpunching baseliner, the grinder, the consistent player. The other interesting thing too is that these players will also beat themselves up if they miss, because their game is really predicated on very few errors. You have to, if you're going to play this way, you have to play almost error free, because if you are having a day where you're chipping in errors, then it's just really going to be tough to beat the player who's got a lot more offense if you're also giving them free points. So and the matches are going to be longer and more difficult. So if you have to have 2 matches in the same day, and we ever get back to playing best 2 out of 3 sets, which I hope we will, then you'll be at a distinct disadvantage, especially if you have 2 matches in one day and you play a 3-hour match in your first match, and then you've got, maybe you only have like an hour turnaround until your next match. You're playing somebody better than the first round. It's going to be really tough to win that second match. So, the other player who's the disruptive player who can take away the rhythm can also really mess up that counterpunching baseliner, because then there's the added pressure of trying to read and react to what's happening with that other player. They're going to draw more errors out of you because they're mixing up their timing and the heights of the ball and moving you all over the place. But now, some days it comes down to this. So to me, it's not the best way to win. It really isn't. People do it, but they could get so much more if they developed more skills, so that they could either, now they're probably not likely to become a power player, because the reason that they're doing this, they're running around, is because they lack the power. That's fine. But if they became a pressure time and space player, or like I said before, a pressure movement player, or they worked on their slices and their drop shots and their lobs and specialty shots, that's not such a hard thing to do, to add some specialty shots to your game. And then instead of just simply being a counterpuncher, that you could be someone who's disrupting people's rhythm, and you can make them make more errors. So, but now here's the thing. When I was at the top of my game, and I was never the world's greatest player, of course, but because you never heard of me as a player, but let's keep that real. I had my A game, my B game, and my C game. And my A game was to pressure time and space. So I was serving and volleying, I was chipping and charging, I was coming to the net as much as I could. And if if it was a pretty tough matchup, I might come in a little bit less. I might not also come in on second serves. I might serve and stay back every once in a while and then wait for a short ball to come in. Fine, you know. But generally my A game was going to be serve and volley, high, very much coming forward and taking away time and space. My B game was a disruptive style because I've got good spins and good touch and all that, especially around the net up close. So, you know, I'm fine with hitting more topspin, less topspin, slicing harder, you know, doing all those things, throwing in the occasional drop shot, the lob, and really junking people up. I was fine with that. In fact, I kind of enjoyed that. So if I had to go away from serving and volleying, then going to a disruptive style was like, okay, boom, immediately I can shift right into that because I have those skills. But you have to have the skills. You have to be able to hit all the different spins if you're going to do that. All right. Now, and then if, oh man, I'm just having a bad day at the office, you know, just nothing's going right. The player that I'm playing matches up really well with me when I'm doing the first two. And now I just have to downshift into run and get one more shot. Well, I'm going to do it. And some of my favorite wins of that my players have been when they were playing a certain way and their A game didn't work out and their B game didn't work out. And so they went to that C game, which was counterpunching baseliner. You know, and the funny thing is that I was a counterpunching baseliner for much of my playing time. And then a good friend of mine, you said, "Hey, Bill, come on, you volley well, and look, you're 6'2", you should be at the net." And so the funny thing is, in one day, I became a serve and volleyer because my friend Bruce and I went out and I practiced serving and volleying for 1 hour. Then I started using it in practice matches. Then I started to incorporate it slowly into my match play until I became a full-time serve and volleyer. So it can't, you know, now that was before polyester strings, but I think, you know, it still can be done today, but maybe not full-time. So having that, I mean, you can still pressure time and space in different ways also, but I don't want to digress back into that. So having that ability to grind, to, you know, run around and hit one more shot and realize, okay, it's going to be a day with lots of running. That's okay. But, you know, there's a price to be paid. It's going to be exhausting and you're going to have to, you know, squeeze every last little bit of that piece of fruit to get every last little juice out of it. So that's what it could come down to. You know, and then here's, you know, and this comes hand in hand with consistency. So I think what happens is when people obsess a little bit too much on consistency, then they tend to gravitate towards counterpunching baseliner retrieving style, just so because they just want to make a shot, because they're not thinking about risk reward ratio. They're not thinking about, you know, control hurt finish. They're not thinking about shot combinations that if I hit here and I pull the opponent there and then I hit there, or if I hit here and turn them around and make them hit there, or if I come forward and put them under pressure and then I can hit there. You know, the shot combinations then create the other strategies. So you need to be able to hit targets on the court. Now, so I think the fascination, the foolish consistency that is the hobgoblin of small minds lends itself to teaching this style to the point where I think people only really believe that there are two styles, and those are that you're going to go for a big serve and go for a big forehand and try to end the point in two shots, which, you know, can happen. It's the power players are going to do that more often than anybody else. But in fact, you know, this is something that Nadal has started to do much more. Is we've really, been hunting for forehands and trying to make a really strong serve plus one shot, and that's been part of his major success since he's been in his mid to late 30s. Oh, it's my Success Airlines mug. Anyway, so so the whole point of this being, yes, it can lead to a win, right? But it ought to be your B game or your C game, because you're going to be a lot better off in the long run. You're going to, I think, have more satisfaction and more of a sense of self-expression if you develop your skills so that you can play in a style and a strategy that is more effective, gives you more options on the day. Because I'm a firm believer that just about every top pro could play any of the five styles if they really wanted to, because they've got the skills to do that. Um, but what they're going to do is they're going to mainly stay inside the strategy that they like. Now, I would say Federer over his career has gone from being a power player, um, who also would pressure time and space as his B game, right? To now his B game, I know his A game is pressuring time and space, and then I think also at times he would pressure movement, but he didn't often. And then actually it's interesting because when you look at his slice when he's playing somebody who hits only major topspin, like I remember watching him play Robbie Ginepri, who full Western grips on, and he would hit that little slice low, little softy slice, very low, and then the top spinner has to come way forward to try to dig that ball up, and then cross court drive to the other corner. So a little disruptive play to create the opening, and leaving the topspin player, the grinder, feeling helpless. So anyway, yeah, this was kind of a ramble, but this is the beginning of this. Now we're a couple chapters into Tennis Strategy 201, and you know I'm getting a little closer with Tennis Strategy 101. I'm taking my time with it. I'm glad I set the goal of having it done by the end of February, because it's probably further along than it would be if I hadn't. So, but I did complete the manuscript. I got my whole first draft done on that day. In fact, I think I got my second draft done on that day. But um, and thank you to Chuck Tomlin, who has written a guest chapter for that book. If you are enjoying this and you would like to add something to Tennis Strategy 101 or 201, if you want to write me a chapter, I will fully give you credit for that. And thank you. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Tomorrow, I'm going to go and do a deep dive into Tennis Strategy 201, and it's going to be pressuring time and space. So, this, I think, is one of the very best ways to win a tennis match. That is, if you aren't a power player. All right. Thanks, and see you in the next one. Please hit like, subscribe, and do this with all the content that you like from all your favorite people.